Good morning, children. Hope that you are all staying safe in home. And in last physics class, we saw the chapter force and pressure. Alright? So, we discussed about the types of forces in your last session. Today, we are going to see the next topic. Before entering into that, so what did we see as force? Force happens due to the interaction. So, whenever I wanted to do some activity or disturb an object from its stationary position, I apply force, right? So, that is a vector quantity. What do you mean by vector? Vector means both magnitude and direction. Its unit is in Newton. So if I tell this as a box and I am applying a force F is equal to 50 Newton. So the direction can be towards this side. So a vector means both the magnitude, the value and the direction is mentioned. Its SI unit is Newton, denoted by the letter capital N. So what are we going to see today as a continuation of force? Today we are going to see the effects of force, a very important one of this chapter. Effects of force. It means what will happen to an object once the force is applied. What are its outcomes of force? Okay. The first one is it changes the speed of object. Does it actually change the speed of object? Let us consider an example. A car is standing on a road side. Okay, a driver struggles to start the car. He asks you to help by pushing it from the back. So what you will do? You will go to the back of the car and try pushing it. You will apply force to the car so that the car starts to move. Right? But imagine if you are just going and standing behind the car and not applying force. What will happen? The car will not move. So, to bring an object into motion from its state of rest, you want a force there. You want an activity to be done there. Now, I hope you would have done this or played this game when you were in your childhood. A tire is there, a wheels tire, a two-wheeler or three-wheelers tire is there, and if you have a stick with you and if you just twist the tire and try to move the tire along with you with the stick. You would have played this as a game during your childhood. You will try to run with the tire as it's rotating, right? So let us consider this as a tire, and if you are pushing it initially, it will start to rotate and move in this direction, right? So in this direction the tire is moving means, and if you are again and again pushing the tire with the stick like this, as the tire rotates, you are again and again hitting on the tire in the same direction so that the tire rotates faster. So whenever the force is applied in the same direction of motion, then the speed increases. So the direction of motion of the tire in this case is towards this side. And you are going on hitting with the stick on the tire in the same direction of the tire's rotation. So the speed of the tire will now start to increase. Now consider the second case. The same example of tire, and you're hitting with a stick like this so that the tire starts to rotate and move in this direction. Okay, in this direction. Now, if you apply a force with your hand on the opposite direction in which the tire is rotating, what will happen? Your tire will slow down and come to the rest position, right? So, if the force is applied in the opposite direction of your motion, then the speed decreases and later on it comes to the zeroth position or rest. So, understood? The force can bring an effect of changing the speed of objects. The example which you can remember is the rotation of tire with a stick. Okay? The second one is changes shape of object. Is it so? Yes. So, have you seen your mother preparing chapati? What does she do? First, she takes a bowl and pours the chapati flour, that is your wheat flour, and then pours water and mixes it, right? She just brings it into some kind of a batter form. And then once the chapati is ready, she presses it so that it becomes soft, right? So, or the whenever the force is applied, the objects will change their shape also. Consider a desk. If I am or if I am hitting it with an axe, does it gets broken? Yeah. So the object's shape is changed. A ball is there. Consider it as one cricket ball or any kind of a soft ball, not a very hard one. Okay? When too much of force is applied, it changes its shape. Correct? So the force is applied, it can even change the shape of the objects. The next one is changes state of motion. We know already that there are two states of motion, rest and movement. This you are learning it from your grade 6. So these two states of motion are changed by your force. This is what an exact definition of force is in fact. Whenever an object is rest, if I apply force, it moves. And if the object is in motion and if I apply the force in the opposite direction, it comes to a rest. So the rest position is nothing but your equilibrium condition. Equilibrium means the stable condition. Clear? And the third one is direction of motion. Right? For this, consider a small ball kept on the surface of the ground. Okay? When you push the ball in this direction, it starts to rotate and move like this. If you keep a scale here, what will happen? Once the ball comes and hits here, it will bring some jerk and it will change its movement and either move in either of the sides, right? So, a force applied can bring the changes in the direction of movement. So, the scale kept here is also a force acting in the opposite direction to the ball's rotation. So, understood, my dear children? So, these four are the effects of your applied force. It can change the speed, shape, and state of motion, including the direction of motion. This is a very important question. You will understand this better when you do today's homework. Okay, alright. So the next one we are going to see is your pressure. As the heading of the chapter tells, force and pressure, we discussed about what is force and its nature, balanced and unbalanced forces, resultant force, types of forces, and the effects of force. Next, we are moving to the pressure. Okay. So, what is pressure? Every day, your mother prepares food for you when you come to the school to give you the lunch. What does she do? She opens the tiffin box and puts the force, and she presses more and more food in the small tiffin box so that you eat well in the lunch. Right? So, she is applying a force to the food and pressing it, because pressing is an action of applying force. When you press on your table, when you press your book, you do some action. Correct? So, pressure is nothing but you apply the force with respect to a particular area. What do I mean by this area? Now, what is the difference between force and pressure? If you understand that, this formula you would get to know how come it came. We saw here various examples. So let us consider this ball example, and you're pushing it. You are applying the force at one point or to the entire ball. The force applied by you is applied at one point, but its effect is seen on the whole of the ball and it starts to rotate. Am I correct? Similar way, your pressure means applying the entire force to the entire area. If this is a box or a desk, okay, I apply the force to the entire area, not at a particular point. Okay, so that is what your pressure is. It is determining the intensity of force, how high the force would be if I apply it to the entire area. If I apply a very huge force to the entire of the ball, what would happen? It would squeeze away, right? So that is what your pressure is. Pressure means for that particular area, how much force I am applying to bring some changes. That is it determines the intensity. Intensity means alavu, how high it is, how effective the force was applied. Okay, now let us consider another example for better understanding. Take your glass scale. You have your stationary item glass scale, no? Okay. You can hold one end of the scale in one hand and the other end of the scale left free, like this. This is your scale. One end you will be holding it, okay? The other end is now just left free. If you apply the force to the entire scale from here to here by the help of someone else, will the scale break? Or if you just pressure it, or if you just press the other free end of your scale in the other end, will the scale break? The scale breaks in the second case, right? This is because the force is concentrated on a particular area. This is the pencil. Now, my dear children, I have held its one end. Now, for this pencil to break, how should I apply the force? Should I apply it for the force by holding it fully and then trying to break it, or just holding one second? So now this is a pencil, okay? If I wanted to break it, I should not apply force for the entire pencil like this. What should I do? I should just hold it at the ends and apply the entire force in the ends so that the pencil will break. Now I'm not trying to break, I'm just telling it for an example, okay? So pressure is nothing but the force applied on a particular area. Here if I try to break the pencil here, the force applied by my hand will be distributed to the entire area of the pencil. Throughout the pencil the force gets distributed. So it fails to break. Whereas if I just hold the ends and try to break, I am applying the force only in this particular end area. So for a small area, more force. So it tends to break the pencil. So did you understand? The force applied for a very small area will be huge in its effect than the force applied for the large area. So that is called as your pressure. Force applied for the small areas and bringing the effect in a very huge manner. That is what I meant as intensity of force. So if the area is small and the force applied will be huge, it can bring about a change in its structure, that is the breakage of object. Clear, children? So next, if this is the formula to calculate your pressure, pressure is equal to force by area. What is its unit? How do we derive the units usually? Force SI unit is Newton in the numerator, and in the denominator you have your area. It's SI unit. Area usually it is length into breadth of a rectangle. So meter into meter will be meter square. Also the other unit is Pascal. Pascal is in the name of the person who found about pressure. I indicate it as capital P and small a. So the unit of pressure will be Pascal or Newton per meter square. I can tell as 1 Pascal is equal to 1 Newton per meter square. Okay. So here, this is the formula as I told you. Pressure is equal to force by area. So pressure is directly proportional to force and inversely proportional to your area. Can I say this proportional and inversely proportional? I hope you know the meaning of proportional and inversely proportional. I'm removing this equal to sign and introducing the proportionality. So when I introduce the proportionality symbol, I am going to relate these two quantities and discuss. Okay, that is the meaning of it. So here the force is in the numerator. So it is directly proportional. So it means, what does it directly proportional means? If the force applied is high, pressure applied will also be high. If the force applied is less, pressure will also be less. So pressure has a direct contact with the force. If the force is high, pressure is also high. The next thing, pressure is equal to force by area. I have the area in the denominator. So I am just splitting this formula into two formats, right? Into as pressure proportional to force and pressure inversely proportional to area. Inversely means this is a reciprocal format, right? 1 by area is reciprocal. So whenever I write anything in reciprocal format and introduce the proportionality symbol, means I read it as pressure is inversely proportional to area. Understood? So what does that mean, inverse? Inverse means there is going to be an opposite relation between these two quantities. If the area is high, pressure will be less. If the area is less, pressure will be high. That is what the meaning of your inversely proportional. So opposite. Directly proportional means the same. If it increases, pressure also increases. Whereas in case of area, if area is less, pressure is high. That is what I explained it with the example of your pencil. Here, if I press it at the ends, the area is less. So the pressure will be more and it helps me to break the pencil. Did you get the concept, my dear children? If you have any doubt, you can contact me. So now what I am doing is just small rearrangements in the formula. Pressure is equal to force by area. If any of the two quantities are given and if I ask you to find the third one, you should be able to do so in your problems. That is why I gave this. Force, if I want force, this area goes top. Area goes here and it becomes as pressure into area. If I want area goes here and pressure comes here, right? So F by P. These are the other formulas derived from your pressure is equal to force by area, just by rearranging. Okay? So now we saw that about what is pressure and its impact. Now my question is whether the impact of pressure is observed only in solids or in liquids and gases also. Yes, the pressure is observed in liquids and gases too. They also exert pressure. I combinedly call liquids and gases by a new term called fluids. What is it? Fluids. Fluids means both liquid and gases. Combined form of this is called as fluids. So where do we see the pressure in liquids and gases? You have the LPG cylinder in your home. Inside the cylinder you have the gas filled in it. So gas is filled inside the container. It is exerting the pressure on the walls of the container. If this is the container, the LPG is filled in and it exerts the pressure on all the sides of the container. If I open the container, I could see that the gas would emerge out faster and spread over all the area around us. Right? So that is why whenever we are dealing with the cylinders, we should be more careful. We should not play with the cylinders. These gases which are all stored inside will be exerting some force on the sides. So once if they get any leakages or holes for them to escape, it rushes out. Okay, that is what I meant as both liquids and gases exert pressure. Next, we are going to see about atmospheric pressure. What is the atmospheric pressure? As the name tells, it is the pressure present in the atmosphere. So does it mean that we always have some pressure on it by the atmosphere? Yes, obviously. Do we feel the gravitational pull on us? No, right? Similar way, we don't feel the pressure by the air around us. And that atmospheric pressure only is helping for the aircrafts and birds in the sky to fly. Okay, that atmospheric pressure will be detailedly learning in our next chapter. So by the time you should be knowing what is meant by atmospheric pressure. It is the pressure exerted by the air around us. Next, we are going to discuss another case of pressure. Consider this as a container filled with water. You have water here. This container's height, I am determining it as small h. I can give any value, but I am just explaining, I am assuming it as small h. Okay. So, I am going to do an experiment with this container having water filled with water to the height h. I am going to put 3 holes in this container. One at the top, one at the middle, and one at the bottom before the end of the container. Okay, I have left some space. Notice this. I have left some space here before the end of the container. The first case, if you see, the hole in the top, at the height of h, I could see the water coming out and falling at a distance shorter to the container. And the water from the middle hole moves a distance apart the first hole. And the water from coming out from the third hole falls very far compared to the other 2 holes. So what does this mean? As I told you already that liquids and gases exert pressure, the water present in this container will be exerting pressure on all the sides of the container, right? So whenever they get any hole to escape, they come out with a force. So in the top hole, it comes out with a force to a shorter distance, and from the middle a slight greater than that, and from the bottom very far away. So from this experiment I conclude that the pressure increases as the depth increases. I mean here as depth, not as height. Okay, so what is the difference between depth and height? Let me tell you first. How do you measure your height? From the ground surface, the person is standing and they measure the height. This is called as height. And what is meant by depth means when I go below the ground surface and if I measure the length there, I call it as depth. Understood? So here height I have given h. This is the height of the container because this is kept above the ground surface. So this is the height of the container. But the pressure increases in depth as this is the top hole, the middle hole and the bottom hole. From the top of the level of water, the holes are decreasing, they come downwards. So I call it as depth. If there is an increase in the depth, the pressure is high. That is why we feel very high pressure inside deep sea waters. We cannot go to the end of the sea. Understood? As the depth increases, the pressure also increases. So now we saw what happens if we go below the ground surface. That is, if the depth increases, what happens to the pressure. The next case, this is case number 2. We are going to see what happens if there is an increase in height. So as I told you, height means above the ground surface. So this is the layer of atmosphere. You have learned this layers of atmosphere already in your lower grades. This is the earth. Just consider this as for your example. This is the surface of the earth. From the surface, the layers are present like this. Right? So, the atmospheric pressure is high on the earth's surface and it decreases to zero at the end of the layer of atmosphere. Understood? So, this is the reason why do the mountaineers take oxygen cylinders with them when they climb the mountains. Because mountains are high enough in kilometers, right? So as you go higher than the earth's surface, the pressure starts to decrease and there is no air around us. We will be suffocating for the air to breathe, and that is why the mountaineers carry oxygen cylinders along with them when they climb the mountains. Understood, children? So we saw 2 points. As the height increases, atmospheric pressure decreases. As the as the depth increases, depth means underground. Keep that in your mind. Depth increases, pressure increases. The next thing we are going to see is regarding your earth poles. So can you see here a box? I have written that pressure is directly proportional to density. So what is meant by density? Density means thickness, how thick it is. Do you remember the heat chapter which we learnt in grade 7 and the wind storm cyclones chapter we learnt in grade 7 in your physics? There we saw the hot and cold objects, warm and cold air, right? So warm air is lighter than cold air. We saw that. Do you remember this? Because cold air will be highly dense. It is highly thick enough. So similar way, this is our earth where you have the north pole and south pole and the equator in the between. Your poles are very cold enough. I hope you know that in your geography. So in the poles you have the cold air, and around the equator the climate is warm and you have the hot air. So as we learnt already, warm air is lighter than cold. The pressure is directly sharing a relationship with the density. Cold air will be highly dense. Cold air is high densed. So what happens to the pressure over there? If the density is high, pressure is also high. So poles will have high pressure than equator. Understood? So we saw 3 cases of your atmospheric pressure. Next, let us see an example for your pressure. I am reading the question. A force of 100 Newton is applied on an area of 4 meters square. Compute the pressure being applied on the area. So what is given? Force of 100 Newton applied on an area 4 meter per second square. And what is asked? Pressure. So pressure is equal to force by area. That is your formula. So force is given and area is given. Direct substitution. 25 Newton per meter square. The other unit for Newton per meter square is Pascal. Okay children. So similar way, various sums will be asked. If any of the 2 quantities are given and asked to find the third one, you should be able to do so. Understood? If any doubt, please do call me. Since this was an interesting topic, I took much of your class time, nearly 35 minutes it is. I hope you too enjoyed today's class. If any doubt, please call me. With this, our first chapter gets over. We can continue with the FAIR notes in the next upcoming classes. Thank you children. See you soon.